What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you are creating your entire future with nothing more than your imagination? What if everything you've ever wanted is not just possible, but inevitable? If you understand this one fundamental truth that most people never discover, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely revolutionize how you see yourself and your power to create. Welcome to this profound exploration of your divine creative power. I am deeply honored that you have chosen to be here with me today, for we are about to embark on a journey that will fundamentally alter your understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. You know, there was a time in my own life when I believed that my circumstances were fixed, that my past dictated my future, and that I was somehow at the mercy of forces beyond my control. But what I discovered, and what I'm about to share with you, changed everything. It will change everything for you too, if you truly understand it. Let me ask you something deeply personal. Are you enjoying the expansion of your desires? Are you delighting in the very act of wanting what you want? This is not a trivial question. It's actually the key to understanding your entire creative process. You see, when you truly enjoy your desires, when they feel natural and inevitable to you, it means something profound is happening within your consciousness. It means your imagination, your true creative faculty, is aligned with your wish. But when you want something that feels impossible, when you desire something but cannot imagine it belonging to you, those desires become painful, don't they? Here's what most people never realize. That pain, that feeling of impossibility, is not because your desire is wrong or unrealistic. It's because you're experiencing what I call contradictory imagining. You're imagining yourself as someone who wants something, while simultaneously imagining yourself as someone who cannot have it. This internal contradiction is the source of all human suffering, and it's completely unnecessary. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this will transform your life. You are not the physical being you appear to be. You are pure imagination, having a human experience. Your imagination is not some faculty of your mind. It is God Himself, individualized as you. When the Bible says God created man in His own image, it's not talking about your physical appearance. It's talking about your power to imagine, to create through consciousness alone. Think about this for a moment. Every single thing that exists in your physical world was first imagined by someone. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're using to watch this, the building you're in, all of it began as an imaginal act. But here's what's even more profound. Your entire life, every circumstance, every relationship, every condition, all of it is the outpicturing of your habitual imaginal acts. Most people live their entire lives never realizing this. They think they're victims of circumstance, prisoners of their past, or subject to the whims of an external world. But the truth is, you are the operant power in your world. You are the cause of everything that happens to you, not through your actions, but through your assumptions. I remember when this truth first dawned on me. I was struggling with a particular situation that seemed completely beyond my control. I felt powerless, frustrated, and trapped. But then I began to understand what assumption really means. An assumption is not just a thought or a belief. It's a state of consciousness that you occupy. When you assume something to be true, you're not just thinking it, you're being it. Now let me share with you the most practical application of this truth. Every night, as you fall asleep, you have the opportunity to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is not mere positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This is the conscious use of your imagination to create your reality. Picture this. You lie down in your bed, and instead of reviewing the day's problems, or worrying about tomorrow's challenges, you enter into an imaginal scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. You don't imagine the process of getting what you want. You imagine having it. You don't imagine yourself hoping or trying or working toward your goal. You imagine yourself already being the person who has achieved it. The secret is not in the vividness of the scene, though that helps. The secret is in the feeling. Can you feel the reality of your imagined state? Can you feel what it would be like to be the person who has what you want? This feeling is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. But here's where most people stumble. They've been practicing limitation for so long that it has become their dominant assumption. They think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, and imagine the same limitations day after day, year after year. Then they wonder why their lives don't change. Your beliefs are nothing more than thoughts you've thought so often that they feel true. But here's the liberating truth. What you call reality is simply your most persistent assumption. If you don't like your reality, assume something different. I once knew a man who had been unemployed for months. He was constantly imagining himself as unemployed, constantly feeling the frustration and fear of not having work. He would wake up every morning and immediately imagine the day ahead as another day of rejection and disappointment. He was unknowingly using his imagination to perpetuate his unwanted condition. When I explained this to him, he understood. That very night, he began to imagine himself as employed, not looking for work, not hoping for work, but actually employed. He would fall asleep imagining himself at his desk, feeling the satisfaction of meaningful work, sensing the security of a steady income. Within 2 weeks he received a job offer that was better than anything he had previously imagined possible. This brings us to a profound realization. There is no objective reality out there that you need to conform to. There is only consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. What you call the physical world is consciousness crystallized, imagination made manifest. This means that every single person in your world is you pushed out. Every relationship, every interaction, every experience is a reflection of your own state of consciousness. When you change your assumptions about yourself, you automatically change your assumptions about others, and they must conform to your new conception of them. Now I want you to understand something crucial about the nature of assumption. When you assume something to be true, you're not trying to convince yourself that it's true. You're not arguing with contrary evidence or forcing yourself to believe something that seems impossible. You're simply dwelling in the state of consciousness that corresponds to your wish fulfilled. Think of it this way. If you wanted to go to New York, you wouldn't stand in Los Angeles trying to convince yourself that you're in New York. You would simply travel to New York. Similarly, if you want to experience a different reality, you don't try to convince yourself from your current state. You simply move to the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire. The beauty of this understanding is that it makes you completely free. You're not dependent on external circumstances to change before you can be happy. You're not waiting for other people to behave differently before you can feel fulfilled. You're not postponing your joy until some future condition is met. You can enter into the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now, this very moment. Here's what I promise you. If you will consistently assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, if you will persist in this assumption regardless of what your senses tell you, if you will remain faithful to your new concept of yourself, your world must conform to your assumption. This is not a possibility, it's a law. It's as certain as the law of gravity. The question is not whether this will work. The question is, are you willing to be disciplined enough to assume what you want to be true, even when your current circumstances suggest otherwise? Most people want to see the change before they believe it. They want proof before they have faith. But I'm telling you, you must believe it before you see it. You must assume it before it manifests. This is the order of creation. Imagination first, manifestation second. This requires a complete reversal of how most people think. Instead of reacting to your circumstances, you must learn to create your circumstances through your imaginal acts. Instead of being a victim of your past, you must become the author of your future. Instead of being at the mercy of the world, you must realize that the world is at the mercy of your imagination. I invite you to test this principle in your own life. Choose something you desire, not something small and insignificant, but something that would genuinely transform your experience. Tonight, as you fall asleep, imagine yourself in possession of this desire. Feel the reality of it. Assume it to be true. And then, no matter what happens in the days that follow, persist in this assumption. But I must warn you, this is not a game. This is not positive thinking or wishful dreaming. This is the conscious use of the divine power within you. When you truly understand and apply this principle, you will never again be able to see yourself as powerless or at the mercy of external circumstances. You will realize that you are the God of your own world, the creator of your own experience, the author of your own story. This knowledge brings with it tremendous responsibility. because you can no longer blame anyone or anything else for your experience. But it also brings with it tremendous power, because you can create any experience you choose. So here's my final question for you. Who do you want to be? Not what do you want to have, not what do you want to do, but who do you want to be? Because whoever you consistently assume yourself to be, you will become. Whatever you persistently imagine yourself to be, you will manifest. The choice is yours. You can continue to live by default, assuming whatever circumstances and past experiences have conditioned you to assume. Or you can live by design, consciously choosing what to assume about yourself and your world. Remember, your imagination is not limited by your past, your circumstances, or what others think is possible for you. Your imagination is limited only by what you are willing to assume to be true. I leave you with this truth. You are far more powerful than you have ever imagined. You are the operant power in your world. You are pure consciousness, having a human experience, and right now, in this very moment, you have the power to assume yourself to be anything you choose to be. The question is not whether you can create the life you desire. The question is, will you use your imagination, assume your desire fulfilled, persist in your assumption, and watch as your world transforms to match your innermost convictions about yourself. You are the creator of your reality. It's time to start creating consciously. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to take responsibility for your creative power, then I invite you to share your own experiences in the comments below. What will you assume about yourself starting tonight? What reality will you create through the power of your imagination? Remember, you don't need to see it to believe it. You need to believe it to see it. The time is now. The power is yours. Use it wisely. Right now, as you're listening to these words, you possess the most powerful creative force in the universe, and most people never realize it exists. This force has shaped every great achievement in human history, built every empire, created every masterpiece, and solved every problem that seemed impossible. Yet it sits dormant in most minds, waiting to be awakened and unleashed upon the world. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory or philosophy. It's a practical system that will fundamentally change how you approach every desire, every goal, and every dream you've ever held. The power I'm speaking of is your imagination, and today you're going to discover how to harness it to create the life you've always wanted. Most people live their entire lives completely unaware of the creative power that lies dormant within their imagination. They bow before the harsh dictates of their current circumstances, accepting life based solely on what they can see and touch in the world around them. They become prisoners of their present reality, never realizing they hold the master key to unlimited possibilities. But when you truly discover this creative power within yourself, when you understand how to wield it with precision and purpose, you will boldly assert the supremacy of imagination over every limitation that has ever held you back. You will put all things in subjection to your creative vision, transforming not just your circumstances, but your entire destiny. Here's what most people don't understand. When we speak of the divine creative force within human beings, we're talking about nothing other than your imagination. This is the creative power that shapes reality itself. There is absolutely nothing under heaven that isn't as malleable as potter's clay to the touch of your focused, purposeful imagination. Let me share a story that will illustrate just how powerful this force truly is, and why you should never doubt its ability to transform your life completely. I once knew a man who loved to listen to teachings about imagination, but whenever he heard these concepts, he would nervously touch his chair with his fingers and push his feet firmly into the rug beneath him, desperately trying to keep his sense of physical reality intact. He was afraid to let go of what he could see and feel, afraid to trust in the invisible power of his creative mind. But let me tell you about someone who didn't need to touch anything to keep herself grounded. Someone who trusted completely in the power of her imagination, and witnessed it transform her life in the most extraordinary way. She was just 17 years old, and it was Christmas Eve. Her heart was heavy with grief, because earlier that year, she had lost her father in a tragic accident. Now she was returning home to what felt like an empty house, working as a waitress because she had no other training or skills to fall back on. On this particular night, it was quite late, and rain was falling steadily as she rode the streetcar home. The car was filled with laughing young people returning from their Christmas vacations, their joy only emphasizing her loneliness and despair. Tears began streaming down her face, but fortunately the rain provided perfect cover for her sorrow. Then something remarkable happened. Instead of surrendering to her circumstances, this young woman made a conscious decision to use her imagination to transform her reality. As she held onto the rail of that streetcar, feeling the motion and hearing the sounds around her, she closed her eyes and made a powerful declaration. This is not rain falling on my face. This is spray from the ocean, carried by the sea breeze. This salty taste I'm experiencing isn't from my tears of sadness. It's the salt of the sea in the wind. And this isn't a streetcar traveling through San Diego. This is a ship, and I'm approaching the beautiful Bay of Samoa. She didn't just think these thoughts casually. She felt them with every fiber of her being. She gave her imagination complete sensory vividness, making the experience so real that she could actually feel herself on that ship, approaching that distant shore. She maintained this powerful visualization until the streetcar journey ended, and she had to return to her physical reality. Here's where the story becomes truly extraordinary, and why you should pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you. Just 10 days after this imaginative experience, this young woman received a letter from a law firm in Chicago. The letter informed her that several years earlier, when her aunt had sailed for Europe, she had deposited $3,000 with specific instructions if she did not return to America. This money should be paid to her niece. The firm had just received confirmation of the aunt's death and were now acting upon her instructions, sending this young woman enough money to completely change her circumstances. 1 month later, exactly 1 month after her imaginative journey on that rainy streetcar, this young woman found herself on an actual ship sailing toward Samoa. As she came into the bay late that night, there was indeed salt of the sea in the wind. It wasn't raining, but there was spray in the air, and she experienced the exact same sensations she had imagined just weeks before, only this time, she had realized her objective in physical reality. This story illustrates a profound technique that I want to teach you today. A method for putting your wonderful imagination directly into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, allowing it to remain there while you fall asleep in that state of accomplishment. I can promise you from my own extensive experience that if you can actually feel yourself living in the reality of your fulfilled desire, and if you continue in that feeling until you fall asleep, you will inevitably realize that state in your physical world. The process works like this. You must feel yourself completely into the situation of your fulfilled desire, remaining there until you give it all the tones of reality, until you provide it with all the sensory vividness that you're capable of generating. As you maintain this state and quietly fall into sleep, you set in motion forces that will move you across a series of events, leading you toward the objective realization of your desired state. You could never consciously devise the means that will be employed to bring your vision into reality, but that's not your job. Your job is simply to feel the reality of your fulfilled desire with such intensity that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. And here is the practical technique that will transform your life, if you apply it consistently and with complete faith in its power. First, you must know exactly what you want in this world. Clarity is absolutely essential. Vague desires produce vague results, but crystal clear intentions, backed by emotional intensity, create miraculous transformations. Once you know exactly what you want, create as lifelike a representation as possible of what you would see, what you would touch, and what you would do if you were already living in that desired state. For example, suppose you wanted a beautiful home, but currently had no money to purchase one. Instead of focusing on your current limitations, you would create a detailed mental image of the exact home you desire, complete with all the furnishings and features that would bring you joy. Then, each night as you prepare for sleep, you would enter a drowsy, relaxed state that borders upon sleep. In this receptive condition, you would imagine that you are actually living in that house. You would mentally step off your current bed and onto the floor of your dream home. You would move from room to room, touching the furniture and feeling it to be solidly real under your hands. While you are touching and experiencing this imaginary house with complete sensory involvement, you would allow yourself to drift into natural sleep, maintaining the feeling of actually being there until consciousness fades into slumber. This same technique can be applied to achieve success in any area of your life. If you desired a promotion in your career, you would ask yourself what additional responsibilities would be yours if you received this advancement. What would you do differently? What would you say? How would you act? What would others say to you? Then, in your imagination, you would begin to see, touch, and act exactly as you would if you already held that position. You would give yourself the full sensory experience of living in that elevated state until it becomes completely real to your subconscious mind. If you were seeking your ideal romantic partner, you would imagine yourself already in that loving relationship. You would feel the reality of being loved and cherished, perhaps even imagining yourself wearing a wedding ring, if marriage is your goal. You would touch that imaginary ring repeatedly, feeling its weight and texture until it seems completely real to your senses. The key is to maintain these imagined experiences until they arouse within you the exact feelings you would have if they were already your reality. Then you sleep in that state of fulfillment, allowing your subconscious mind to work out the details of manifestation. This technique has been taught throughout history by the world's greatest spiritual teachers, though it was often presented in symbolic form that many people misunderstood as mere historical accounts. The secret lies in centering your imagination completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled and remaining there with unwavering faith. Your capacity to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled is directly proportional to your capacity to live the more abundant life that is your birthright. Most people are afraid to imagine themselves as important, noble, and successful individuals who make significant contributions to the world. This fear exists because the moment we begin to assume a greater version of ourselves, our logical mind and physical senses immediately deny the truth of our assumption. We feel gripped by an unconscious urge that makes us cling desperately to the familiar world of our current limitations, resisting everything that threatens to tear us away from our seemingly safe but ultimately restrictive circumstances. Here's a crucial distinction that will determine your success or failure with this method. There is a vast difference between thinking of what you want and thinking from what you want. When you think of your desires, you remain in your current state, looking at your goals as distant possibilities. But when you think from your desires, when you assume the feeling of already having them, you occupy that state mentally and emotionally, making it your current reality in consciousness. Imagination puts you in touch with a world of infinite states and possibilities. These states are not mere fantasies. They are real, existing potentials that become overpoweringly real when you think from them and dwell within them consistently. Let me share a personal experience that will demonstrate the incredible power of this technique when applied with complete faith and persistence. In 1933, while living in New York City, an old friend taught me this principle by referencing a passage from Scripture. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. He explained that these mansions were not physical buildings in some distant heaven, but rather the states of consciousness we can occupy through imagination. He told me that if I would make a living representation of any desired state, and then enter that state and abide in it, I would inevitably realize it in my physical experience. At that time, I wanted to make a trip to the island of Barbados in the West Indies, but I had no money for such a journey. Following his instruction, each night as I fell asleep in my New York apartment, I assumed that I was sleeping in my father's house in Barbados. For 1 full month, night after night, I maintained this assumption as I drifted into sleep. At the end of that month, I received an invitation from my family, inviting me to spend the winter in Barbados. I sailed for Barbados in early December of that year, and from that moment forward, I knew I had discovered the most powerful creative force within myself. Here's an advanced technique that will accelerate your progress and help you overcome past disappointments and setbacks. I call it the art of revision, and it's something you should practice daily. Each night before sleep, instead of simply reviewing your day and accepting everything that happened as final, you should mentally revise the day's events to conform to your ideals. If you receive disappointing news, revise that news mentally and imagine receiving the information you wished you had gotten instead. If you didn't receive a letter or call you were hoping for, imagine that you did receive it and feel the satisfaction of that positive communication. If you had a difficult conversation with someone, replay that conversation in your mind with a completely different, more positive outcome. Let me share a remarkable example of how this revision technique worked for one woman who heard me speak about these principles. This lady had been ordered out of her daughter-in-law's home 2 years earlier, and there had been no communication between them since. She had sent her grandson at least 24 presents during this time, but not one had ever been acknowledged. After learning about revision, she decided to take action. Each night as she prepared for sleep, she mentally constructed 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from her daughter-in-law. In these imaginary letters, both expressed deep affection for her and wondered why she hadn't visited them. For 7 consecutive nights, she held these imaginary letters in her mind, reading them over and over until they aroused within her the complete satisfaction of having actually received such communications. Then she would fall asleep in that state of fulfillment. On the 8th day, she received an actual letter from her daughter-in-law. Inside that envelope were 2 letters, one from her grandson and one from the daughter-in-law. These real letters practically duplicated word for word the imaginary letters she had been reading to herself for the previous week. This art of revision and creative imagination can be powerfully applied to matters of health and healing. If you're dealing with illness or injury, bring before your mind's eye the image of a trusted friend or family member. Put upon their face an expression that implies they see you as completely healthy and vibrant. Imagine them saying to you that they've never seen you look better, and hear yourself replying with complete conviction, "I have never felt better." If you have a specific physical issue, construct a mental drama that implies you are doing all the activities you would do if that condition were completely healed. Repeat this imaginative exercise over and over until it takes on the complete tones of reality in your mind. Whatever you repeatedly do in your imagination, you will eventually do in your outer world. This is not wishful thinking. This is a precise psychological and spiritual law. The one essential requirement for success with this method is to arouse your attention in such a way and to such intensity that you become wholly absorbed in your revised or desired reality. When you achieve this level of mental and emotional involvement, you will experience an expansion and refinement of your senses through this imaginative exercise. Eventually, you will achieve clear vision in the inner world of imagination, and this inner vision will inevitably manifest as outer experience. The abundant life that has been promised to humanity is yours to enjoy right now, but only when you recognize and utilize the creative power of your imagination. Persistent imagination, centered completely in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. This alone is the means of fulfilling every intention and realizing every dream. Every stage of human progress is made possible by the conscious, voluntary exercise of imagination. This is why all great poets and visionaries throughout history have emphasized the supreme importance of controlled, vivid imagination. As the great William Blake wrote, "In your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow." The time has come for you to test this power for yourself. Choose one specific desire that matters deeply to you, something that would genuinely improve your life and bring you lasting happiness. Create a clear, detailed mental image of yourself already living in the reality of that fulfilled desire. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, assume the feeling of already having this desire completely realized. Maintain that assumption with sensory vividness until you drift into natural sleep. Continue this practice night after night with unwavering faith and persistence. I can promise you this, if you apply this technique with consistency and complete belief in its power, you will prove to yourself that your imagination is indeed the creator of your reality. You will join the ranks of those who have discovered humanity's greatest secret, that we are all equipped with the divine power to consciously create our lives through the proper use of imagination. The question is not whether this power exists, it does. The question is whether you will have the courage and persistence to use it. Your future is waiting for you to create it. The time to begin is now.
Everything that you desire is already yours. The wealth, the love, the joy, it is not something you must chase. It is something you must allow. But if you do not see it, if you do not feel it, you are blocking it. You are turning away from the infinite supply that is already present, already waiting for you to claim it. You do not need to beg, struggle, or toil. You only need to assume the feeling of already having it. Look at your life and notice where you are resisting abundance. It is not the world that withholds from you, but your own mind, your own state of being. Every time you say, "I can't afford this," or "I am struggling," or "it never works out for me," you are shutting the door on the very thing you wish to receive. You are creating the lack, not because it is real, but because you have accepted it as real. The secret is simple. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you are. You must embody the wealth you seek. You must walk in the confidence of one who already possesses it. The feeling of lack cannot produce abundance. The feeling of limitation cannot create freedom. You must dare to believe in the unseen reality more than the visible circumstances. Do not ask when or how it will come. That is the trap of the logical mind, the part of you that insists on struggle and delay. The moment you truly accept that it is done, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to reflect your new assumption. You have been waiting for the world to change before you believe, but it is your belief that changes the world. Every day, you are given the choice to persist in the old or to step into the new. Your wealth, your success, your joy, they are already here. Do you have the courage to claim them? Abundance is already yours. It is not something you need to earn, chase, or struggle for. It is already present, already within you, waiting for you to recognize it. The very idea that you must fight for abundance is the illusion that keeps it at a distance. The moment you stop seeing it as something outside of you, something separate from your being, is the moment you begin to experience it effortlessly in your reality. Look around you. Everything you see, every experience you have is the result of what you have accepted as true within yourself. If your world appears limited, if your circumstances seem to deny abundance, it is only because you have believed in lack more than you have believed in the infinite supply available to you. The world is merely a reflection of your inner state. The moment you shift your awareness, the outer world must conform. It has no choice. There is no external force holding abundance from you. No economy, no system, no person has the power to limit what is already yours. The only thing that blocks it is your own resistance, your own beliefs that tell you it is not possible, not available, or not meant for you. But abundance is not selective. It does not play favorites. It is as natural and ever-present as the air you breathe. It is only a question of whether you are open to receiving it. Think of a river flowing endlessly, supplying fresh water to all who draw from it. Some people stand at the banks with buckets, collecting all they need, while others refuse to dip their hands in, convinced that there is not enough or that they are unworthy of it. The river does not decide who may drink. It flows without judgment. Abundance operates the same way. It is not about deserving or proving yourself. It is about recognizing that the supply is infinite and available to you at all times. The key to unlocking this truth is your feeling. If you feel abundant, you will see abundance everywhere. If you feel lack, you will find confirmation of it in every corner of your life. The world simply mirrors back to you the state you hold within. You attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you walk in the assumption of wealth, the world will shape itself to reflect that wealth. If you walk in the assumption of struggle, circumstances will arise to reinforce that struggle. Many people believe abundance is something they must achieve through effort and hard work. They have been conditioned to think that success is the result of toil, sacrifice, and long hours. But if that were true, every hard-working person would be rich. Every person who labored endlessly would be overflowing with prosperity. Yet we see time and time again that some of the wealthiest individuals did not achieve abundance through struggle, but through a shift in awareness. They saw themselves as wealthy before their external world reflected it. They embodied the state of abundance within, and the world had no choice but to follow. You do not need to force abundance to come to you. You only need to stop blocking it. You do this by letting go of the thoughts, beliefs, and feelings that keep it away. Every time you say, "I can't afford this, money is hard to come by," or "I never have enough," you are closing the door on abundance. You are declaring to the universe that lack is what you believe in, and so lack is what you will experience. But the moment you shift your inner dialogue, the moment you begin to say, "Wealth flows to me easily. I always have more than enough, and everything I desire is already mine," you are opening the floodgates. Your words, your emotions, and your assumptions are the key to unlocking all that you seek. If you could feel the reality of abundance now, if you could walk as if it were already yours, you would see it materialize in ways you never imagined. But most people hold themselves apart from abundance because they believe they must first see proof before they can believe it. They wait for circumstances to change before changing their mindset. This is the great misunderstanding. The change in belief must come first. The external world is simply the echo. Imagine a person who stands in front of a mirror, waiting for their reflection to smile before they smile. It would never happen. The reflection only moves when they move. In the same way, the world will only show you abundance when you assume the state of being abundant. You must smile first, feel the reality first, and then the mirror of life will reflect it back to you. This is why those who complain about money continue to experience financial struggles. They are reinforcing the state of lack through their thoughts, emotions, and words. Even when they receive money, their dominant belief in scarcity ensures that it slips through their fingers. They never truly allow themselves to feel abundant, and so the world cannot show them abundance. But when you truly accept that abundance is already yours, when you no longer feel the need to chase it, fight for it, or doubt its presence, it begins to flow effortlessly into your life. You will notice unexpected sources of wealth appearing. Opportunities will arise where none seemed to exist before. People and circumstances will align in ways that seem almost miraculous. This is not luck or coincidence. It is simply the outer world reflecting your inner shift. You do not have to know how it will come. The logical mind always wants to figure out the how, but that is not your concern. Your only task is to assume the feeling of already having it. The means will reveal themselves at the right time. The moment you decide that you are wealthy, that you are abundant, the universe begins moving pieces into place to confirm that decision. Abundance is not about numbers in a bank account. It is not about possessions or status. It is a state of being, a deep inner knowing that you are always provided for, always supported, always overflowing with more than enough. When you cultivate this state, money, success, and opportunities become natural byproducts. They are drawn to you effortlessly because you are no longer resisting them. There is nothing to wait for. The moment you claim abundance as your reality, it becomes so. The moment you stop seeing it as something distant, something to be earned or proven, it appears. You have always had the power to allow it. The question is, will you? Your thoughts create your reality. Every experience, every event, every circumstance in your life is a direct reflection of what you have accepted as true in your mind. There is no external force dictating your reality. There is no outside power shaping your destiny. The only thing creating your life moment by moment is your own consciousness. If you believe in lack, you will experience lack. If you believe in abundance, you will experience abundance. The world has no choice but to mirror back to you the assumptions you hold. Most people do not realize that they are the cause of everything they experience. They look at their circumstances and assume that life is happening to them, that they are victims of chance, fate, or external conditions. But nothing in your world happens without your permission. Whether consciously or unconsciously, you are always shaping your life through your dominant thoughts and beliefs. Even the things you do not want, the struggles, the disappointments, the setbacks, all exist because at some level you have entertained thoughts that align with them. This is not about blame. It is about power. It is about recognizing that you are not at the mercy of anything outside of you. If your world is not the way you want it to be, you do not need to fight against circumstances, change other people, or struggle against conditions. You only need to change your thoughts. The outer world is simply a reflection of the inner world. Consider a person who constantly worries about money. They wake up every day thinking about their bills, their debts, and how hard it is to make ends meet. They talk about their financial struggles to anyone who would listen. They reinforce their belief in scarcity with every thought, every word, and every emotion. And what happens? Their reality confirms it. Unexpected expenses arise. Money seems to slip through their fingers. No matter how much they try to fix their situation, they remain stuck in the same cycle. This is not because the world is cruel or unfair. It is because they are knowingly holding themselves in a state of lack through their thoughts. Now imagine another person who, despite not yet having great wealth, believes deeply that they are financially abundant. They do not allow temporary appearances to shake their faith. They speak as if they are prosperous. They think as if money flows to them effortlessly. They feel the reality of financial freedom even before it appears. And what happens? Opportunities begin to arise. Unexpected income comes their way. The right people, the right circumstances, and the right ideas seem to align perfectly. They did not have to struggle for it. They simply assumed the state of abundance, and the world conformed. This is not wishful thinking. It is a fundamental law of reality. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you are. Your subconscious mind does not respond to empty wishes or fleeting desires. It responds to what you consistently believe to be true. If you wake up every day feeling like a failure, the world will confirm that instead. There is no randomness in this process. The law is precise and unfailing. The only reason people struggle is that they do not realize they are always creating, whether they intend to or not. If you allow negative thoughts to dominate your mind, you will experience a negative reality. If you allow positive, abundant thoughts to fill your consciousness, your world must reflect that. It is as simple as planting seeds. Whatever you plant in your mind will eventually grow into your experience. Look at the thoughts you have been entertaining. Are they thoughts of fear, doubt, and limitation? If so, your life will mirror those feelings. Are they thoughts of confidence, joy, and abundance? Then your reality will reflect those states instead. The universe is not punishing or rewarding you. It is simply responding to the energy you put out. The mistake most people make is believing that they need to see proof before they can change their beliefs. They say, I will believe in abundance when I see more money in my account, or I will feel loved when the right relationship appears. But they have it backward. The belief must come first. The feeling must come first. Only then will the external world shift. Think of it like a thermostat. If you set a thermostat to a certain temperature, the environment adjusts to match it. If the temperature drops below the setting, the heater turns on. If it rises above the setting, the air conditioning kicks in. Your dominant thoughts and beliefs work the same way. They act as the set point for your reality. If you have a mental set point of struggle, your subconscious will constantly adjust your reality to match that struggle. If you set your mind to abundance, your subconscious will bring circumstances that reflect that abundance. You may wonder, but how do I change my beliefs if my current reality seems so real? The answer is simple. Stop reacting to appearances. Do not let what you see dictate what you believe. Instead, let what you believe dictate what you see. You must persist in your new assumption even when there is no physical evidence of it yet. Think of a gardener who plants seeds. They do not dig up the soil every day to check if the seed is growing. They trust the process. They water it, they nurture it, and they know that in time it will sprout. Your thoughts work the same way. The moment you plant a new belief, the outer world begins shifting to reflect it. But if you constantly doubt, if you constantly check and question, you disrupt the process. You must have the patience and faith to let it unfold. This is why imagination is so powerful. If you can close your eyes and truly feel the reality of what you desire, you are imprinting that state onto your subconscious mind. And once the subconscious accepts it, the outer world must rearrange itself to match. The key is to assume it is done, to live in the end result as if it were already true. Do not wait for physical evidence. Create the evidence within first. Most people wait for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to feel happy, successful, or abundant. But those who understand this principle do the opposite. They feel happy first, they feel successful first, they feel abundant first. And then, as if by magic, the world transforms to match their inner state. You have always had this power. It has been working in your life since the moment you were born. The question is, are you using it consciously or unconsciously? Are you allowing random thoughts and external influences to shape your reality? Or are you deliberately choosing the thoughts that align with the life you want? It is not difficult to shift your thinking. It only requires awareness and consistency. If you catch yourself dwelling on lack, fear, or limitation, stop immediately and replace those thoughts with something better. It does not matter if your current reality seems to contradict it. Persist in the new thought, and reality will shift in time. You do not need to struggle against old conditions. You do not need to fight or resist anything. Simply create a new state within yourself, and everything else will follow. The world has no choice but to reflect back to you what you hold in your mind. If you truly live by this, there is nothing you cannot create. The only limits you experience in life are the ones you have accepted in your mind. Every obstacle, every delay, every circumstance that seems to be holding you back is not an external force against you. It is the reflection of an invisible boundary you have placed upon yourself. These limitations are not real in any absolute sense. They only exist because you believe in them. The moment you drop the belief, the limitation disappears. Think of the ways you have convinced yourself that something is not possible. Perhaps you have said, I can't achieve that because I don't have the right skills, or I can't have wealth because I was born into a struggling family, or I can't find love because of my past experiences. These are not truths. These are merely assumptions you have accepted as fact. And because you have accepted them, your world has reflected them back to you. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid, flexible, and entirely shaped by consciousness. There is no law outside of you that says you must struggle. There is no force in the universe that determines how much success, love, or abundance you can experience. The only thing that governs your life is your own mind. If you accept limitations, they will appear real to you. If you reject them, they will dissolve. Consider a person who believes they are not good enough to succeed in their career. They may want a promotion, a better position, or greater recognition. But deep down, they do not feel worthy of it. And so, they unconsciously sabotage their chances. They hesitate to take action. They speak with uncertainty. They downplay their abilities. Even if an opportunity presents itself, they dismiss it as not meant for them. And what happens? Their world confirms their belief. They remain stuck in the same position, watching others rise while they stay behind. Not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because they have placed a mental barrier between themselves and success. Now imagine another person in the same situation, but they believe in their worthiness. They may not have all the experience. They may not have all the credentials, but they assume they belong at the top. They walk into every room with confidence. They speak as if they already possess the qualities they desire. They persist, they take action, they embrace opportunities without hesitation. And reality bends to match their assumption. They rise not because of luck or privilege, but because they refuse to accept any limitation on what was possible for them. This is true in every area of life. If you believe that love is difficult, love will feel distant. If you believe that money is scarce, money will always slip through your fingers. If you believe that success is reserved for others but not for you, then no matter how hard you work, you will find yourself struggling, not because life is against you, but because you have unknowingly placed an invisible wall between yourself and the life you desire. The key to breaking through these limits is not struggle. It is not about forcing or fighting your way to success. It is about changing the assumption that created the limitation in the first place. If you believe in struggle, struggle will persist. If you believe in ease, things will begin to unfold effortlessly. There is nothing external keeping you from your desires. The barriers you see are projections of the mind. If you believe that you cannot have something, your mind will generate reasons to justify that belief. You will notice obstacles, difficulties, and setbacks that seem to confirm your doubts. But the moment you shift your assumption, everything changes. The path that seemed impossible suddenly becomes clear. The resources you thought you lacked begin to appear. The people and opportunities that seemed out of reach come into your life effortlessly. This is not coincidence. This is the natural law of consciousness. Your assumptions dictate what you experience. The moment you decide that something is possible for you, reality rearranges itself to reflect that decision. Think of a time in your life when you overcame a limitation simply because you changed your mind. Perhaps there was something you once believed was out of reach, but then one day, something shifted. Maybe you gained new information. Maybe someone encouraged you. Maybe you simply got tired of accepting less than you deserved. And the moment your belief changed, things started moving. What once felt impossible became attainable. This power is always available to you. You do not need external validation to break free from limitations. You do not need anyone else to tell you what is possible. The only thing required is a shift in your consciousness. The moment you assume a new state, everything else follows. Most people hold themselves back not because they lack ability, but because they fear stepping into a greater version of themselves. They have become comfortable in their limitations. They have accepted a life that is smaller than what they are truly capable of. But comfort is not the same as fulfillment. Staying within limitations may feel safe, but it also keeps you from the expansion, joy, and abundance that life has to offer. The moment you decide to stop accepting limitations, your world will begin to change. But you must truly believe it. You cannot say, "I am limitless," while secretly holding on to doubts. You cannot affirm abundance while secretly expecting struggle. Your subconscious mind knows what you truly believe, and it will always reflect that belief outwardly. If you want to experience a reality without limits, you must first become limitless in your mind. You must allow yourself to imagine and feel what it would be like to live without the restrictions you have placed upon yourself. Close your eyes and see yourself thriving, succeeding, expanding. Feel what it would be like to move through life with absolute confidence and certainty. And as you do this, notice how your energy shifts. Notice how the barriers you once saw begin to feel insignificant. There is no reason to wait. There is nothing you need to fix or improve before you step into your highest potential. The only thing required is a decision to no longer accept limitation as part of your reality. And the moment you make that decision, the world will reflect it back to you. Every desire you hold is already fulfilled in the invisible realm of imagination. What you seek is not something you must chase or struggle for. It already exists. The only reason it remains unseen in your physical world is that you have not fully accepted it as real. The moment you accept it, the moment you embody the feeling of already having it, reality must conform to your assumption. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the creative power that shapes your reality. There is no outside force controlling your life. There is no destiny written for you that you cannot change. The only thing shaping your experience is your own imagination. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you take full responsibility for your reality. The sooner you will see the evidence of your power. Most people fear taking responsibility for their own creation. They would rather blame circumstances, blame others, blame fate. But to do so is to give away your power. The moment you accept that you are the creator of your own experience, you become free. You no longer wait for things to change. You change them yourself. You no longer seek answers outside of you. You look within. All things are possible to the one who believes. This is not just a saying, not just a hopeful idea. It is the law of reality. The only thing determining what is possible for you is what you believe to be possible. The moment you expand your assumptions, the moment you accept a new reality in your mind, the world will adjust itself accordingly. There is no limitation except the ones you place upon yourself. There is no external force holding you back. There is only your own acceptance or rejection of what is possible. The world is not separate from you. It is you reflected back at you. The sooner you understand this, the sooner you will stop looking outside of yourself for answers, for solutions, for change. Everything you desire is already yours. It is already created. The only thing keeping it from appearing in your life is your own doubt, your own hesitation, your own belief in limitation. The moment you let go of these doubts and accept the reality of your wish fulfilled, everything changes. You do not need anyone else to tell you that you can have what you desire. You do not need anyone to approve of your dreams. The only approval you need is your own. The only permission you need is the one you give yourself. Your imagination is the only reality. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you will see the proof. The world is waiting to conform to your assumptions. The only question is, what will you assume to be true?
What if I told you that every single thought you've had today, every worry, every doubt, every fleeting desire was actually a prayer being answered right now. And what if I told you that the conversation you think you're not having with God is actually the most important conversation of your life? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will shatter everything you think you know about prayer, manifestation, and your direct connection to the divine. By the end of this, you'll understand why some people seem to live charmed lives while others struggle endlessly. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to shift from one group to the other. I want to share something that mystics have known for centuries, something that the most successful people in history have understood intuitively, but that most people never discover. You are already speaking to God. You have been since the moment you learned to think, to desire, to dream, to fear. The great tragedy isn't that people don't pray, it's that they don't realize they're always praying. Every moment of every day, you're in constant communication with the infinite. God doesn't wait for you on bended knee in a cathedral. He doesn't need stained glass windows or ancient rituals. He hears you in your silence, in your movement, in the thoughts you repeat obsessively, in the feelings you cultivate habitually, in the mental images you dwell upon during the quiet hours of the night. You are always sending out a message, whether by faith or by fear, whether by hope or by complaint. And here's what will shock you. That message is always answered, always, but not always in words. If you're unhappy, unclear, or lost, it's not because you haven't prayed enough. It's not because God isn't listening. It's because you haven't understood how you're praying. And what you're about to discover about the language of the subconscious mind will change everything you thought you knew about getting what you want in life. You see, God doesn't communicate through sentences. He doesn't argue, beg, or command. He responds to mental states, to definiteness, to desire, to unwavering conviction. He speaks through ideas, through flashes of insight, through circumstances that shift, through people who cross your path when you least expect it. Let me be bold here. If you are unhappy, unclear, or lost, it is not because you have not prayed. It is because you have not understood how you are praying. You have not realized that every repetition of fear, every echo of self-doubt, every mental rehearsal of defeat is a silent request, a communication with the infinite saying, this is what I expect, this is what I believe, this is what I have chosen to dwell upon. And God, being faithful, doesn't question your command. He doesn't deliver what you say you want in your conscious moments of hope. He delivers what you expect with feeling, what you've impressed upon your deeper mind through constant repetition. An expectation isn't built through moments of faith. It's built through your habitual mental atmosphere, through the vibration of your dominant thoughts. Think of your mind as a broadcast station. Your thoughts are frequencies. Every emotion, every word you internalize, every scene you replay in your imagination sends out a signal. That signal becomes a request, and that request draws to you its equivalent in the physical world. Here's the problem most people face. You may believe you're asking for strength, but what you focus on is weakness. You may desire love, but your mind plays only scenes of rejection. You may want wealth, yet you speak endlessly about lack. You think you're praying for success, but your daily imagination is filled with visions of failure. This is the unspoken dialogue between you and God. Not words, but energy. Not noise, but belief. Let me tell you exactly who you're speaking to, because this understanding will change everything. Throughout history, humanity has given God many names. Some call him the Creator, others the Source, the Almighty, the Divine, the Great Spirit. But I choose a term that reflects not only power, but order, reason, and precise response. Infinite intelligence. I didn't come to know God through ritual or religion, though I respect both. I came to know him through observation, through experience, through careful study of the most successful individuals of our time. I studied men like Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, men who built empires, shaped nations, bent entire industries to their will. And I asked myself, what is the unseen force that connects these men? They differed in temperament, in belief, in background, in education. But there was one thing they all understood. whether consciously or not. Ideas come from somewhere beyond the individual mind. Vision is received, not invented. When a person tunes their mind properly, they become a channel through which something greater flows. That something greater is infinite intelligence. It is not a man in the sky. It is not a judge sitting on a throne, waiting to punish or reward. It is the source of all thought, the creative force behind all invention, all genius, all beauty. It is the field in which all possibilities exist, the original thinker, the origin of all power, the silent partner that never speaks aloud, but never misses a signal. Infinite intelligence is the unseen mind of the universe, responsive, creative, generous, but it does not move at random. It responds to definiteness. It responds to clarity. It responds to faith backed by emotion and sustained by repetition. And here's where most people fail catastrophically. They pray in desperation. They ask from a place of weakness. They beg, plead, and hope. But they don't understand the nature of what they're addressing. Infinite intelligence is not moved by noise. It is moved by alignment. It does not respond to chaos, but to order. Not to doubt, but to certainty. Not to fear, but to belief so strong, it becomes an unshakable knowing. Your subconscious mind is the secret transmitter that's been broadcasting your deepest beliefs. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what it's been saying on your behalf might absolutely horrify you. But once you understand this mechanism, you hold the master key to reshaping your entire reality. If infinite intelligence is the source of all power, then your subconscious mind is the instrument through which that power flows into your individual experience. This is crucial to understand. You do not speak to God with your lips. You do not communicate through your conscious, reasoning mind. You speak through your emotionalized thoughts, your persistent beliefs, and the silent language of the subconscious mind. That is the channel. That is the transmitter. And that is where the real work begins. Your subconscious mind does not think. It responds. It does not judge. It does not debate. It does not question the logic or morality of what you feed it. It accepts whatever you give it, wraps it in the emotion you've attached to it, and passes it directly into the realm of infinite intelligence as your command. Every thought you repeat, especially when charged with strong emotion, whether faith or fear, is imprinted upon your subconscious. And the subconscious, obedient and faithful as a devoted servant, accepts that imprint as absolute fact. It then begins to operate your body, your habits, your perception, and yes, even your environment, in alignment with what you have declared to be true. This is how people create heaven or hell for themselves, not by what happens to them, but by what they believe deeply, emotionally, subconsciously, is their rightful place in the world. Let me give you a perfect example. A man says, "I am tired of being poor. I want to be rich." He declares it once with conscious conviction. But then, within the very next hour, he complains about the economy. He dwells on what he lacks. He tells his friends that wealthy people are greedy. He speaks with envy about others' success. He walks with the posture of doubt. So tell me, what message has he really sent? What has his subconscious mind recorded and transmitted to infinite intelligence? Not the loud wish he spoke once in a moment of inspiration, but the quiet, repeated signals of lack, resentment, and self-sabotage that he's been broadcasting consistently for years. You must understand that the subconscious mind cannot lie, but it can be lied into submission. It is not concerned with the truth of your hopes. It is concerned only with the volume and consistency of your belief. And belief is not built with logic. It is built with repetition, emotion, and unwavering consistency. This is why I urge you to guard your thoughts not once, but constantly. To speak to yourself not as you currently are, but as you intend to become. To visualize daily not your past limitations, but your preferred future. To feed the subconscious mind not the crumbs of doubt, but the feast of definite purpose. When you do this, when your inner dialogue becomes strong, pure, and unwavering, the subconscious mind begins to shift. It becomes an instrument of power, rather than a vessel of limitation. Most people think faith is something you turn to in trouble, a last resort, a vague hope that somehow something somewhere will intervene on their behalf when all else fails. But I tell you now, faith is not hope. Faith is a spiritual law. Faith is the only medium through which you may consciously connect your thoughts with infinite intelligence. It is the wireless signal, the spiritual transmitter. And without it, no prayer, no desire, no vision, no matter how sincere, how desperate, how well-intentioned, will reach the realm from which true power flows. Faith is not built on words or wishes. It is built on feeling, deep inner conviction that what you desire is already yours in the realm of consciousness, even if not yet visible in your physical experience. Faith is belief made so vivid, so emotional, so habitual, that the subconscious mind accepts it without hesitation. And once it is accepted there, it becomes spiritual law in your individual experience. Infinite intelligence does not respond to what you merely say. It responds to what you believe. And belief is not measured by your public affirmations, nor by how loudly you declare your dreams at motivational seminars. Belief is measured by your daily emotional vibration. It's revealed in how you respond to obstacles, in how you persist when the going gets tough, in how you act even when the evidence is not yet visible. A person who has true faith walks differently. They carry themselves with an inner sense of direction, even when the path is not fully illuminated. They speak less about what is missing and more about what is moving. They wake with energy because they know they're aligned with something greater than themselves. They endure difficulties without collapsing because they understand that obstacles are often redirections, not rejections. Picture a seed. That tiny seed contains everything it needs to become a magnificent tree. But it will only realize its potential if it is placed in the right soil, given adequate water, provided with sunlight, and nurtured with consistency and care. Faith is the soil in which thought grows. It is the spiritual environment that allows invisible desire to take tangible form in the physical world. Without faith, your most brilliant thoughts die in the dirt of doubt. I have personally observed hundreds of people with brilliant plans and powerful ideas fail. Not for lack of intelligence, not for lack of opportunity, but for lack of belief. They spoke the right words. They set impressive goals. They had detailed strategies, but in their hearts, in their subconscious minds, they did not believe it was truly possible for them. Contrast this with a person of perhaps moderate talent, but unshakable faith. They do not speak in terms of if, but when. They do not ask for signs. They move as if the signs have already been given. They do not wait for permission from the world. They act as if they've already received divine authorization. And because they believe before the evidence arrives, the evidence begins to appear. Doors open. Circumstances shift in their favor. The right people show up at the right time. Ideas flood their consciousness. Resources become available. And the world, as if obeying some unseen instruction, begins to bend in their favor. There's one method that every successful person uses, often without even realizing it, to program their subconscious mind for success. When you master this technique, reality literally begins to reshape itself around your desires. But here's the shocking part. You're already using this method every single day, either for you or against you. The method is called auto-suggestion, and it is the most powerful tool for deliberate subconscious programming that has ever been discovered. Auto-suggestion is not positive thinking. It is not daydreaming. It is not wishful talk whispered into the wind while you're feeling good. It is a precise discipline, a sacred ritual, a deliberate conversation between your conscious and subconscious mind. Most people use it against themselves. When you say, "I can't do this. I always mess this up. I never have enough. People like me don't succeed." What do you think you're doing? You're praying, not with hope, not with light, but with darkness. You're repeating, with emotional conviction, the very beliefs that limit your future. The person of definite purpose does not leave this power to chance. They do not wake up and hope for good thoughts. They command their thoughts. They write their desires with absolute clarity. They repeat them with genuine feeling. They see them in their mind's eye every single day, multiple times a day. If you desire wealth, do not merely wish for it in vague terms. Write a clear, specific statement of exactly what you desire, exactly when you intend to have it, and exactly what you are willing to give in return. This is not a casual exercise. This is a sacred contract with infinite intelligence. Then repeat this statement every morning upon awakening and every night before sleep. But not as a mechanical chant, not as a hollow phrase you've memorized. Repeat it as if your life depends on it, as if God Himself were listening to the tone of your conviction, because He is. Emotion is the secret key. Without emotion, your words are spiritually dead. They do not penetrate the subconscious. They bounce off like rain on stone. But when you feel the truth of your words, when you picture the outcome vividly, when your body and mind align in perfect harmony, the message is delivered with power. I have witnessed this principle in action too many times to doubt its validity. The person who sets a definite goal, speaks it daily with conviction, visualizes it with clarity, and persists with unwavering faith, receives hunches, opportunities, and guidance that the average person dismisses as coincidence. Most people think emotion is something to control, to hide, to manage. But what if I told you that emotion is actually your direct hotline to God? That without the right emotions, your prayers are basically spiritual static. Emotion is not a weakness. It is not a disturbance to be controlled. It is your spiritual signal amplifier. Emotion is the fire that powers your thought. It is the electricity that carries your mental messages from the conscious mind, through the subconscious, and into the direct attention of infinite intelligence. Without emotion, your thoughts are dull, lifeless, powerless. Without emotion, your prayers are faint whispers that never reach their destination. But when your thoughts are charged with emotion, true, deep, authentic emotion, they burn. They sear themselves into the subconscious mind. Faith, love, conviction, enthusiasm, gratitude, burning desire. These are high-frequency emotions. They elevate the vibration of your thought. They make your signal powerful, clean, and irresistible. They pierce through resistance, cut through confusion, and reach their target with precision. But if your thoughts are wrapped in fear, in worry, in resentment, in anger, in self-pity, then that signal becomes distorted. It may still be strong, but it is misaligned. And infinite intelligence, being perfectly responsive to whatever you transmit, returns not what you consciously desire, but what you unconsciously believe, and what you feel most consistently. You cannot lie to your own emotional vibration. You can say all the right words. You can write beautiful goals. You can attend every seminar and read every book. But if your body is tense, your breath is shallow, your sleep is restless, and your inner world is filled with fear and doubt, you are still transmitting a signal. A person who understands this principle takes complete responsibility for their emotional frequency. They monitor the tone of their mind as carefully as a master musician tunes their instrument. They step away from environments that drain their energy. They reject conversations that poison their mental atmosphere. This is not about comfort. This is about spiritual discipline. You are always sending a signal. The universe is never deaf to your transmission. The only question is whether your signal is worthy of the reply you desire. There's one mental state that guarantees failure, and I'd estimate that 90% of people are trapped in it right now without even knowing it. Drifting is the most dangerous mental state a human being can enter. It is the condition of a mind no longer under conscious control, a mind that reacts instead of creating, that responds instead of initiating, that moves, yes, but with no destination, no design, no definite purpose. Drifting is the mind that checks the clock, but never examines the vision. It is the mind that consumes endless information, but never creates anything of value. It is the mind that feels vague urges to grow, but always finds excuses to wait for a better time. The drifter floats between desire and doubt, between belief and boredom, between momentary inspiration and chronic procrastination. The drifter prays without focus, scattering their attention across a dozen different wants. They think without intensity, allowing their mind to wander wherever external circumstances lead it. And worst of all, they repeat the same confused, anxious, contradictory thoughts day after day, week after week, year after year, completely unaware that every single one of these thoughts is a silent instruction being delivered directly to their subconscious mind. The drifter says they want peace, yet they constantly invite mental and emotional noise into their consciousness. They say they want success, but they speak daily of struggle, limitation, and how hard everything is. They say they want clear answers from God, yet they fill their inner world with random, aimless, useless mental chatter. Thought is spiritual currency, and if you spend it carelessly, unconsciously on mental junk, you will always be spiritually bankrupt when you need power most. A drifter prays in confusion and receives confusion. A focused person prays with definiteness and receives guidance that can move mountains. The difference is not in God's willingness to help. The difference is in the clarity of the signal being transmitted. The world has taught you to be ashamed of your deepest desires, to question them, to suppress them as selfish or unrealistic. But what if I told you that your burning desires are actually God's way of communicating His plans for your life? What if your biggest dreams are not obstacles to overcome, but assignments to fulfill? True desire is not greed, not excess, not vanity. Desire is divine alignment, a signal from the deepest part of your spiritual nature that whispers, "You were made for more than this." When infinite intelligence seeks to accomplish something in the physical world, it does not send a lightning bolt from heaven. It sends a burning desire into the heart of a human being, a quiet but persistent fire that says, "This is yours to do. This is your assignment. This is why you are here." Most people ignore that fire. Most doubt it. Most bury it beneath layers of practicality, social conditioning, and the limiting opinions of smaller minds. They ask themselves, "Who am I to want this? Maybe I'm being unrealistic," but it is no act of humility to deny the divine impulse that burns within you. That desire was planted in your consciousness for a specific reason, not to torment you, but to guide you, not to frustrate you, but to direct you toward your highest purpose. True desire, the kind that comes from your spiritual core, is the beginning of divine instruction. It is the blueprint that infinite intelligence has given you for what you are meant to build, create, become, and contribute to the world. You do not choose your deepest desires. They choose you. They arise from a place deeper than personal preference, deeper than social conditioning, deeper than fear or limitation. They come from the part of you that is directly connected to the source of all creation. When you say yes to that desire, once you accept it not as a burden, but as a blessing, not as wishful thinking, but as a spiritual assignment, everything begins to change. The mind sharpens, the thoughts become clear and focused, the subconscious awakens to its higher function. God has already answered your prayer. The response was sent the moment you asked with genuine faith. But 99% of people miss it completely because they're looking for the wrong thing in the wrong place. You have spoken the desire. You have impressed it upon your subconscious mind. You have wrapped it in faith and repeated it with emotional conviction. And now you ask, when will God respond? My answer is simple and profound. God has already responded. Infinite intelligence does not wait to reply. It doesn't operate on your schedule, your timeline, or your personal expectations, but it always responds. Always. The response of infinite intelligence is never what most people expect. It is not a voice from heaven. It is not a burning bush or a divine proclamation. It is a change in the spiritual atmosphere around you. It is a strange hunch that awakens you in the middle of the night. It is an idea that rises suddenly while you're walking, shaving, or sitting in quiet contemplation. It is a chance meeting with someone who says exactly what you needed to hear at exactly the moment you needed to hear it. It is a door closing so that the right door can open. It is a delay that saves you from a disaster you could not have foreseen. It is a challenge that pushes you back onto the path you had almost forgotten. Infinite intelligence does not use the language of words. It uses the language of circumstance. It speaks through intuition, through the shifting patterns of your daily experience, through the very fabric of life itself. But most people miss it completely. Not because God is silent, but because they are too mentally noisy to hear the reply. Their minds are filled with chatter. Their thoughts are scattered. Their doubts are loud. Their expectations are so rigid and specific that they walk right past the answer because it didn't arrive in the form they imagined. They pray for help and then reject it when it comes disguised as a challenge. They ask for opportunity and then turn away when it appears in work clothes rather than evening wear. They request guidance and then ignore the intuitive pull that points in a direction their rational mind cannot yet understand. Infinite intelligence is not your servant. It is not bound by your methods or limited by your imagination. It is bound only by your faith, your openness, and your willingness to move when the answer appears, even if it's wrapped in unexpected packaging. Here is your assignment for the next 30 days. And I urge you to treat this not as a suggestion, but as a sacred contract with your highest self. First, become the guardian of your thoughts. Monitor your inner dialogue as carefully as a master musician tunes their instrument. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you consume any outside information, spend 10 minutes in deliberate thought. Choose what you will think about. Direct your mental energy like a laser beam toward your definite purpose. Second, write down your deepest desire with absolute clarity. Not a vague wish, not a general hope, but a specific, definite statement of exactly what you want, exactly when you want it, and exactly what you are willing to give in return. Make this your prayer, your contract, your spiritual blueprint. Third, repeat this statement every morning upon awakening and every night before sleep. But repeat it with genuine emotion, with unwavering conviction, with the certainty that you are speaking directly to the creative force of the universe. Feel the truth of your words. See the outcome in vivid detail. Make it real in your imagination before it becomes real in your experience. Fourth, pay attention to the subtle shifts in your daily experience. Notice the hunches, the unexpected meetings, the doors that open and close. Recognize that every circumstance is part of an intelligent design responding to your dominant thoughts and feelings. Fifth, stop drifting, stop reacting, and start creating. Start recognizing that you are in constant communication with the force that created the universe. And that force is listening to every signal you send. Right now, in this very moment, you stand at a crossroads. You can close this video and return to the drift of unconscious living, allowing your thoughts to scatter like leaves in the wind, continuing to pray unconsciously through fear, doubt, and limitation. Or you can accept the truth that has been placed before you. You are already speaking to God. You have been since the moment you learned to think. The channel is open. The connection is live. The only question is what message you will choose to send. The conversation you've been having with the divine through your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your expectations. That conversation is shaping your reality right now. Every moment of every day, you are co-creating your experience with infinite intelligence. You came into this world equipped with direct access to the source of all power, all wisdom, all possibility. You have within you right now everything necessary to transform your circumstances, fulfill your purpose, and live the life you were designed for. The time for hoping is over. The time for believing has begun. The time for speaking to God without words starts now. Your thoughts are prayers. Your emotions are the power behind those prayers. Your persistence is proof of your faith. And your faith, when properly applied, is the key that unlocks every door between where you are and where you're meant to be. Stop whispering your fears and start declaring your faith. Stop rehearsing your limitations and start visualizing your possibilities. Stop drifting through life and start directing it with conscious intention. The universe is waiting for your instruction. Infinite intelligence is ready to respond to your signal. The creative force that formed the stars and carved the mountains is standing by to assist you in the fulfillment of your definite purpose. Speak to God without words. Send your message with clarity, conviction, and unwavering faith. And then watch as the entire universe conspires to answer your call. The conversation starts now. What will you say? My friends, I want you to imagine something profound for just a moment. Imagine that everything you've been taught about limitation, about scarcity, about having to struggle for every blessing in your life. Imagine that it's all been a magnificent lie, not a lie told with malicious intent, but a lie inherited through generations of fear, passed down like a cursed heirloom from parent to child, from teacher to student, from society to soul. What if I told you that you were born with a sacred power? What if abundance isn't some distant dream reserved for the lucky few, but your divine birthright? What if prosperity, in all its forms, has been waiting for you all along, like a gift wrapped in golden paper, sitting patiently while you convinced yourself you weren't worthy to unwrap it? This is not just another motivational speech. This is a calling. This is an awakening. This is your invitation to step into the truth of who you are and what you deserve. For too long, we've been breathing the stale air of limitation. We've been taught to worship scarcity as if it were a virtue, to embrace poverty as if it were spiritual, to believe that somehow, somewhere, God decided that his children should live in lack. But I'm here to tell you tonight that this is the greatest spiritual deception of our time. Look around you at this magnificent universe. Does anything in creation suggest a God of scarcity? The stars number in the billions, not 10, not 100, but billions upon billions, each one burning with perfect energy, suspended in infinite space by laws that never fail. The oceans contain more water than we could ever measure, teeming with life, supporting millions of creatures in an endless dance of abundance. Even a single seed contains the potential for hundreds of plants. A single tree can produce thousands of fruits. Your own body regenerates millions of cells without you ever having to think about it. Everything in creation screams abundance, overflow, more than enough. Only the human mind, separated from its source, invented the cruel myth of not enough. The deepest wound in human consciousness isn't hatred, isn't greed, isn't even violence. It's the belief in lack. This is the original sin of our modern world, the first lie, the first error, the first denial of our divine nature. It whispers in our ears from childhood. There isn't enough. You aren't enough. You don't deserve abundance. But where did this lie come from? It came from generations of people who forgot their true identity. It came from religions that preached a God of judgment rather than a God of love. It came from societies built on competition rather than cooperation. It came from the fundamental misunderstanding of our relationship with the divine. When we truly understand the nature of God, not as a distant judge keeping track of our failures, but as the very source of all good, everything changes. God is not poor, my friends. God is not stingy. God is not keeping a ledger of who deserves what. God is abundance itself, and if you are made in his image, then abundance is your natural state. The universe is not a zero-sum game. When you prosper, you don't take anything away from anyone else. When you succeed, you don't diminish another's chances. When you live in abundance, you become a beacon of possibility for everyone around you. Your success gives others permission to succeed. Your joy gives others permission to be joyful. Your prosperity reminds the world that God's goodness is available to all. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what about humility? What about the virtue of poverty? Didn't Jesus say it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven? Let me share something that will liberate your soul. Poverty is not humility. Spiritual poverty and material lack are not the same thing. True humility is the recognition that all good comes from God. It's the understanding that we are channels, not sources. It's the willingness to receive God's gifts with gratitude and share them with joy. But to reject material good in the name of humility is to reject the very flow of life itself. It's like refusing to breathe because you think oxygen is too good for you. It's like hiding from the sun because you believe you don't deserve its warmth. Now let's talk about money, because I know this is where many of you start to feel uncomfortable. You've been taught that money is somehow dirty, that it's the root of all evil, that spiritual people shouldn't care about material things. But let me revolutionize your thinking about money right now. Money is not dirty. Money is not evil. Money is energy, pure, neutral energy that takes on the character of the consciousness that handles it. Like electricity, it can light up a home, or it can cause harm, depending on how it's used. Like water, it can nourish life, or it can flood, depending on its direction. The problem isn't money itself. The problem is our relationship with money. Some people worship it, making it their god. Others fear it, pushing it away, as if it were poison. But both extremes come from the same misunderstanding. They give money power it doesn't have. Money is simply a tool. In the hands of a conscious person, it becomes an extension of love. It can feed the hungry, house the homeless, educate the ignorant, heal the sick. It can support art and beauty and truth. It can create opportunities and open doors. It can be a powerful force for good in the world. But here's what's crucial to understand. Money flows to those who have healed their relationship with it. If you secretly believe money is evil, your subconscious will repel it. If you're afraid of having too much, you'll sabotage your own success. If you think wealthy people are automatically greedy or shallow, you'll unconsciously avoid joining their ranks. But when you see money as God's energy in motion, when you understand that you can be both spiritual and prosperous, when you realize that your abundance can be a blessing to the world, then money begins to flow to you naturally, easily, joyfully. Now let's talk about the invisible barriers that keep abundance at arm's length. These aren't external obstacles. They're internal idols, mental constructs that we've unknowingly built and worshipped in the secret temples of our minds. The first idol is the idol of unworthiness. This is the voice that says, "Who am I to have abundance? I've made mistakes. I don't deserve good things. If God wanted me to prosper, He would have made it happen by now." This idol feeds on guilt and shame, growing stronger every time you focus on your failures instead of your potential. Here's the truth. God doesn't wait for you to become perfect before blessing you. His gifts aren't rewards for good behavior. They're expressions of His nature. You don't have to earn your inheritance. You just have to accept it. The second idol is the idol of suffering. This belief says that anything worthwhile must be achieved through pain, struggle, and sacrifice. It's the voice that makes you suspicious of good things that come easily, that makes you think you have to suffer your way to success. But grace operates without effort. The flower doesn't struggle to bloom. The sun doesn't strain to shine. True abundance flows naturally when you align with its source. You weren't born to suffer your way to fulfillment. You were born to allow the divine to fulfill its purpose through you. The third idol is the idol of comparison. This is the lie that says, if I have more, someone else will have less. It's the scarcity mindset that sees life as a competition rather than a collaboration. But God's abundance isn't limited. His blessings aren't rationed. When you prosper, you don't take anything away from anyone else. Instead, you become a proof of possibility. You become evidence that God's goodness is real and available. And here's where we get to the heart of everything. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are not powerless in the face of external conditions. You are a creative consciousness, made in the image of the Creator Himself. Every thought you think is a prayer. Every belief you hold is an instruction to the universe. Every expectation you carry is a magnet that draws experiences to you. This isn't mystical mumbo-jumbo. This is spiritual law, as real and reliable as gravity. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you want to change what's happening around you, you must first change what's happening within you. This doesn't mean you're to blame for every difficulty you face. It means you're empowered to transform every situation you encounter. When you truly understand this principle, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a creator. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You stop waiting for things to change and start being the change. But this power comes with responsibility. You must become conscious of your thoughts, deliberate in your beliefs, intentional in your expectations. You must guard your mind like a sacred garden, planting only seeds that will produce the harvest you desire. And prayer is not begging. Prayer is not pleading with a reluctant God to throw you a few crumbs from heaven's table. Prayer is alignment. Prayer is tuning your consciousness to the frequency of divine abundance. Prayer is remembering who you are and claiming what's already yours. When you pray effectively, you don't say, God, please give me what I lack. Instead, you say, thank you, God, for what you've already provided. I now open my heart to receive it. You don't pray from desperation. You pray from expectation. You don't pray to convince God to bless you. You pray to convince yourself to accept the blessing. The key to answered prayer is not the loudness of your voice or the length of your petition. It's the clarity of your intention and the purity of your faith. When you pray with absolute conviction that what you're asking for is already yours, it manifests with stunning speed. But prayer without action is incomplete. If you pray for abundance, you must also act abundantly. You must think abundantly, speak abundantly, give abundantly. You must align your entire being with the consciousness of prosperity. Now let's revolutionize your understanding of work. Work is not punishment for humanity's fall from grace. Work is not something you endure to pay the bills. Work is worship. Work is service. Work is the way you participate in the ongoing creation of the universe. When you work with love, when you serve with joy, when you give your best without resentment or reservation, you transform labor into prayer. You turn your workplace into a temple. You make your skills an offering to the divine. The universe rewards joyful service. When you work not just for a paycheck but for the satisfaction of contributing something meaningful to the world, opportunities multiply around you. Doors open. Connections form. Ideas flow. Success becomes not something you chase, but something that naturally flows to you. But remember, serving is not sacrificing. You don't have to burn yourself out to be valuable. You don't have to give until you're empty to be virtuous. True service comes from overflow, not from depletion. Take care of yourself first, so you can take care of others better. One of the most powerful secrets of prosperity is this. Abundance is not about accumulation. It's about circulation. Money, like energy, must flow to stay healthy. When you hoard out of fear, you interrupt the natural circulation of good. When you give from love, you accelerate it. This is why the practice of tithing, giving a portion of your income to support spiritual work or charitable causes, is so powerful. It's not about paying God for his blessings. It's about demonstrating your faith in the inexhaustible nature of the source. When you give, you make a statement to the universe. I have so much that I can share. I trust so completely in the flow of abundance that I can let go without fear. And the universe responds to that vibration by sending more your way. But tithing isn't just about money. You can tithe your time by volunteering for causes you believe in. You can tithe your talents by using your skills to help others. You can tithe your attention by really listening to someone who needs to be heard. You can tithe your gratitude by acknowledging the good in your life. Every act of conscious giving is a key that unlocks greater abundance. Not because you're buying God's favor, but because you're aligning yourself with the fundamental law of the universe. What you give, you receive. Now let's talk about the kind of wealth that really matters. The riches of the soul. These are the treasures that can never be stolen, never be lost, never be diminished by economic downturns or market crashes. The first treasure is inner peace. Not the fragile calm that depends on everything going your way, but the deep serenity that remains steady even when the world is shaking. This peace comes from knowing that you are held by something greater than yourself, that you are loved beyond measure, that you are safe in the arms of the divine. The second treasure is joy without cause. Not the happiness that comes from getting what you want, but the joy that bubbles up from the simple fact of being alive. This joy doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on your connection to the source of all joy. The third treasure is natural generosity, not the giving that comes from guilt or obligation, but the overflow of a heart that knows it can never be emptied. This generosity gives not because it has to, but because it gets to. It shares not from poverty, but from abundance. The fourth treasure is deep compassion, not the pity that looks down on others, but the understanding that recognizes our fundamental unity. This compassion sees beyond appearances to the divine spark in every soul. The fifth treasure is intuitive wisdom, not the knowledge that comes from books alone, but the understanding that comes from communion with the divine. This wisdom knows what to do without being told, what to say without rehearsing, what to choose without agonizing. These are the riches that create all other riches. When you possess these treasures, external abundance becomes not a goal, but a natural consequence. The universe cannot help but respond to the vibration of a soul that is truly rich. And now we come to the most liberating truth of all. You have a divine inheritance, not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. You are an heir to the kingdom of heaven, and that kingdom includes everything you need for a life of joy, purpose, and abundance. This inheritance isn't something you have to earn. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's not contingent on your performance or your perfection. It's yours by divine right, by spiritual birthright, by the simple fact that you are a child of the Most High God. But like any inheritance, it must be claimed. It must be accepted. It must be received with gratitude and used with wisdom. Too many people live at the gates of their own abundance, looking through the keyhole at what could be theirs, but never quite believing they deserve to walk through the door. Your inheritance includes health, not just the absence of disease, but vibrant vitality that allows you to fulfill your purpose with energy and enthusiasm. Your inheritance includes relationships, not just any relationships, but connections that nurture your soul and support your growth. Your inheritance includes creative expression, the ability to bring beauty and meaning into the world through your unique gifts. And yes, your inheritance includes material prosperity, not obscene wealth that corrupts the soul, but abundant provision that allows you to live freely, give generously, and serve joyfully. Money is part of your inheritance because money is simply energy, and you have the right to have energy flowing through your life. So, how do you make this transformation? How do you shift from a consciousness of scarcity to a consciousness of abundance? It begins with a decision to no longer accept limitation as your reality. Start by examining your thoughts. What do you think about money? What do you believe about success? What do you expect from life? If your thoughts are dominated by lack, fear, and limitation, then that's what you'll experience. But if you can shift your thoughts to abundance, gratitude, and possibility, your entire world will begin to change. Practice gratitude daily, not just for the big things, but for the small ones. Gratitude is the fastest way to shift your consciousness from scarcity to abundance. When you focus on what you have, you automatically attract more to be grateful for. Speak differently. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "I'm choosing to spend my money on other things." Instead of saying, "I'm broke," say, "I'm temporarily between blessings." Instead of saying, "Money doesn't grow on trees," say, "Abundance flows to me from multiple sources." Act abundantly. If you want to attract abundance, you must act as if you already have it. This doesn't mean being foolish with money you don't have. It means carrying yourself with confidence, making decisions from faith rather than fear, and treating yourself and others with the respect that comes from knowing you're a child of the King. Give generously. Even if you don't have much, give something. Give your time, your attention, your skills, your prayers. Giving breaks the dam of scarcity and allows abundance to flow. And as you step into your divine inheritance, as you claim your right to abundance, remember that your prosperity is not just for you, it's for everyone whose life you touch. It's for the people you employ, the causes you support, the family you provide for, the community you serve. Your abundance is your contribution to the healing of the world. When you prosper, you prove that God's goodness is real. When you succeed, you demonstrate that dreams can come true. When you thrive, you give others permission to thrive as well. This is not about being selfish. This is about being useful. This is about becoming a conduit for God's love to flow into the world. This is about fulfilling your purpose as a co-creator with the divine. My friends, we've reached the moment of decision. You've heard the truth about your divine inheritance. You've learned about the illusion of scarcity and the reality of abundance. You've discovered the power of your thoughts and the importance of your beliefs. Now you must choose. Will you continue to live in the prison of limitation, or will you step into the freedom of abundance? Will you keep believing the lie that you're not worthy of good things, or will you embrace the truth that you're a beloved child of the divine? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your abundance is waiting. Your prosperity is ready. Your divine inheritance is calling your name. Stand up right now, not just physically, but spiritually. Stand up in your consciousness. Stand up in your expectation. Stand up in your faith. Declare with me, I am a child of God, and I claim my divine inheritance. I release all beliefs in limitation. I embrace all possibilities for good. I open my heart to receive the abundance that is my birthright. And as you step into this new consciousness, as you claim your divine inheritance, here's what awaits you. You'll discover that opportunities appear where you never saw them before. Doors will open that you didn't even know existed. People will show up at just the right time with just the right resources. Ideas will flow to you like water from a spring. You'll find that money comes to you more easily, not because you're working harder, but because you're working smarter. Not because you're being greedy, but because you're being grateful. Not because you're demanding more, but because you're receiving what's already yours. You'll experience relationships that nourish your soul, work that fulfills your purpose, and health that energizes your body. You'll discover that abundance isn't just about having more, it's about being more. Most importantly, you'll become a beacon of hope for others. Your transformation will inspire their transformation. Your abundance will give them permission to be abundant. Your joy will kindle their joy. Your success will prove that their success is possible too. Now let me leave you with this eternal truth. You are enough. Not when you get the promotion. Not when you find the perfect relationship. Not when you reach some arbitrary goal. You are enough right now, in this moment, exactly as you are. Your divine inheritance is not a distant promise. It's a present reality. Your abundance is not a future possibility. It's a current truth. Your prosperity is not something you have to chase. It's something you simply have to accept. The kingdom of heaven is not a place you go to after you die. It's a consciousness you can enter right now. It's a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of living that transforms everything it touches. Welcome to your inheritance. Welcome to your abundance. Welcome to the life you were always meant to live. The door is open. The invitation is extended. The abundance is waiting. All you have to do is step through.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I'm going to reveal to you something so profound, so revolutionary, that once you truly grasp it, you will never look at manifestation the same way again. Tonight you will learn that time is a liar. You've been taught that time is real, that the past is gone, the future hasn't arrived, and you're stuck here in the present, waiting, always waiting, waiting for your good to come, waiting for conditions to change, waiting for time to bring you what you desire. But what if I told you that this waiting is the very thing keeping your desires from you? What if I told you that past, present, and future exist simultaneously right now, in this very moment? What if I told you that your fulfilled desire doesn't exist someday in the future, but exists right now as real and present as the chair you're sitting in? You would say, Neville, how can that be? I don't have it now. I can see with my physical eyes that it's not here. And I would say to you, you're looking in the wrong place. You're looking at the world of effects, the world of shadow, But creation happens in consciousness, in the eternal now where all things already exist. Let me ask you a simple question. What is time? Go ahead, try to define it. Try to put your finger on this thing called time without using circular reasoning. You cannot. Because time is not a thing. Time is not flowing like a river. Time is not passing by like clouds in the sky. Time is a mental construct. It's a framework your mind uses to organize the experience of change. But change and time are not the same thing. I can stand here and watch the sun move across the sky. I can watch the seasons change. I can watch my body age. Yes, there is change. Yes, there is motion. But time is the story your mind tells about that change. Einstein discovered this over 100 years ago. He proved mathematically what the mystics have always known, that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. He showed that time is relative. It moves differently depending on how fast you're traveling, depending on gravity. Two people can experience time at completely different rates. If time were absolute, if it were real in the way you think it is, this would be impossible. Einstein called the universe a block universe. Everything that has ever happened and everything that will ever happen exists right now in an eternal present moment. You're not moving through time, you're shifting your attention through a landscape of moments that all exist simultaneously. Think of a film strip. Every frame of the movie exists all at once on that strip of film. The beginning, middle, and end are all equally present. But when you watch the movie, you experience it frame by frame, creating the illusion that time is passing. That's what your life is. All moments of your existence exist right now. Your childhood exists now. Your old age exists now. The moment of your desire fulfilled exists now. You're not traveling toward that moment. You're selecting it by the state of consciousness you occupy. Now you might protest. But Neville, I experience time. I remember yesterday, I anticipate tomorrow. How can you tell me this isn't real? I'm not telling you your experience isn't real. I'm telling you that what you think is causing that experience is an illusion. Can you experience the past? No. You can only remember it. And that memory exists in this present moment. Can you experience the future? No. You can only imagine it. And that imagination exists in this present moment. Everything you have ever experienced has been experienced as now. The past was now when you lived it. The future will be now when you experience it. You have never, not once, experienced anything outside of this eternal present moment. The past is a memory happening now. The future is an imagination happening now. Only now is real. You see, when you understand this, when you truly grasp that there is only now, something remarkable happens to your understanding of manifestation. Most people think manifestation works like this. I am here in the present lacking what I want. I must do certain things, think certain thoughts, visualize, affirm, and eventually, if I do it long enough, time will bring me my desire in the future. This is completely backward. Your desire doesn't exist in the future, waiting to be created. It exists right now, not in some mystical, abstract way. It exists as an actual state of consciousness available to you in this eternal present moment. In quantum physics, they've discovered something extraordinary. At the fundamental level of reality, there is no time variable in the equations that describe the universe. The universe, in its deepest nature, is timeless. All possibilities exist simultaneously in what they call superposition. What you experience as time is simply your consciousness collapsing different possibilities into your experience, sequentially. But here's what they won't tell you in the physics textbooks. You choose which possibilities collapse into your experience. You choose by the state of consciousness you occupy. This is why I've always taught you to live in the end. Not because living in the end creates a future reality, but because the end already exists now. And living in it tunes your consciousness to that reality. There is a version of reality where you have your desire. That's not a pretty metaphor. That's not wishful thinking. That is an actual state of consciousness existing in the eternal now. There is also a version where you don't have it. Another way you're struggling. Another way you're abundantly blessed. All these versions exist simultaneously, right now, not somewhere else, not in the future, here, now. Which one you experience depends entirely on which one your consciousness is tuned to. And what tunes your consciousness? Your state, your assumptions, your feeling of being. If you think and feel as someone who lacks, you tune to the reality where lack is true. Not because you're creating that reality, it already exists, but because that's the frame your consciousness is selecting from all possible frames. But if you shift your state, if you begin to think and feel as the person who already has your desire, you tune to a different reality. One that exists just as surely, just as presently, as the one you're leaving behind. Now let me show you the greatest obstacle to manifestation. And it's so subtle that most people never recognize it. It's what I call psychological time. Psychological time is when you live between 2 points. The memory of what was and the anticipation of what will be. You're never here. You're always somewhere else in your mind. You think about your desire and immediately your mind does this. It references your past as evidence that you can't have it. Then it projects into the future hoping someday conditions will change. This is living in time. And living in time is living in limitation. Listen carefully. Every moment you spend in psychological time, you are not in the creative now. You are in the world of effects, the world of shadows, the world where nothing new can be created. Creation happens only in the now. Not the now that will come tomorrow. Not the now that existed yesterday. The eternal now that is always present. When you worry about how long it will take, you're living in time. When you wonder why it hasn't happened yet, you're living in time. When you think maybe next week, maybe next month, you're living in time. And all of that is keeping you locked in the very reality you're trying to leave. Here's what you must understand. The moment you ask when, you've already placed your desire in time. You've made it subject to time. You've given time power over it. But your desire is not in time. It exists in consciousness. And consciousness is timeless. I had a man come to me once who said, "Neville, I've been affirming and visualizing for 6 months. How much longer do I have to wait?" I said, "You'll wait forever if you keep asking that question." He was shocked. "What do you mean?" I said, "Every time you ask how much longer, you're affirming that you don't have it now. You're affirming that time stands between you and your desire. And consciousness creates from what you are now, not from what you hope to be later." The question itself was keeping him in the state of waiting. And the state of waiting perpetuates itself. If you are in the state of waiting, consciousness creates more waiting. You must collapse time. And you collapse time by refusing to acknowledge its power over your desire. Your desire exists now, not tomorrow, not next week. The version of you who has it exists now, not in the future. The reality where it's yours exists now, not someday. When you truly grasp this, when you truly live from this understanding, time ceases to be an obstacle. It ceases to exist as something you must overcome. The greatest mistake you can make in manifestation is to wait. When you wait for your desire, you're operating from the illusion of time. You're saying it will come in the future, but there is no future. There is only now. Your desire exists now. The version of you who has it exists now. The reality where it's yours exists now. You're not waiting for it to arrive. You're waiting to shift your consciousness to where it already is. Stop asking when will it come. That question assumes time is real, that you must travel through it to reach your desire. Instead, ask what state of consciousness experiences the reality where I already have this. Then become that state. Not tomorrow, not after you've prepared yourself. Now, because now is all there is, where all creation takes place. Now is the only moment you can ever occupy. Let me make this practical for you. Right now, in this eternal present moment, decide who you are. Not who you were, not who you will be. Who you are. Are you the person who has your desire or the person who doesn't? Choose. Right now. Don't reference your past. That's just a memory you're experiencing now. And you can select a different memory. Don't project into the future. That's just an imagination you're experiencing now. And you can imagine differently. In this moment, in this eternal now, Claim your desire as present reality. When you think of it, don't think, I hope it comes. Don't think I'm working toward it. Don't think, maybe soon. Think it is. Present tense. Feel yourself as the person who has it. Not will have it. Has it now. This isn't preparation for the future. This is your present state of being. Throughout your day, whenever you catch yourself living in psychological time, referencing past failures, projecting future hopes, stop. Bring yourself back to now. In this moment, you are who you choose to be. You have what you claim to have. You experience what you feel yourself experiencing. Before you sleep tonight, I want you to do this. Forget about time. Completely ignore it. Don't think about your past. Don't think about your future. Exist only in now. In this now, assume you are the person your desire implies you to be. Don't imagine it coming tomorrow. Experience it now. Feel it, know it, be it. Fall asleep in that state. Let the last impression on your consciousness be the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not as something approaching, but as something that is. Do this not once, but persistently. Make it your habitual state, and watch as the world rearranges itself to match the state you've claimed in the eternal now. Time is not your master. You are the master of time. You're not bound by what happened in the past. That's just one frame of infinite possible pasts. You're not limited by an uncertain future. That future already exists, and you select which one by your present state. You are always in the now, the eternal, creative, all-powerful now. And in this now you are who you claim to be. You have what you claim to have. Stop waiting, stop hoping, stop preparing. Assume your desire fulfilled. Not tomorrow, right now. Live in the end. Not because the end will come, but because the end already is. Ignore time completely. It's a fiction, a shadow, a dream. The only reality is consciousness. And consciousness exists only now. Your desire is not coming. It already came. It exists now in the state of consciousness that experiences it. Occupy that state. Not later, right now. And you will discover what I have been trying to tell you all along. You are not waiting for your good to come to you. You are selecting which good already present you will experience. Time cannot limit you. Only your belief in time can limit you. So tonight, ignore time. Step into the eternal now. Claim your desire as present reality, and live from that state with absolute conviction. This is the secret. This is the power. This is the law. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you expect to achieve your goals, if you expect to reach your potential, if you expect to have your dreams come true, what I'm about to explain to you is mission critical. You must become a master at visualization. For those of you that are like, what the heck is she talking about? I did not sign up for some sort of meditation, woo-woo spiritual thing here. Don't worry, this is Mel Robbins. There's always science and research involved in everything that I talk about. So visualization is an extraordinarily powerful skill. You may have heard of the law of attraction. You may have heard of the word visualization. You may have heard of the word manifesting. I call it seeing signs. Your brain has a system in it. Here's the technical term. It's called the reticular activating system. It is a network of neurons all up in here. And what is the job of the reticular activating system? It is a filter system. It's basically a system that allows certain information in your brain and it blocks out other information. And guess who programmed that filter? You did, and so did the people from your past. The reason why is if your brain let in everything, have you ever looked at a Facebook page? Have you noticed how many words are on a standard Facebook page? and the ad over here, and the ad over here, and the ad right here, and the stuff up here, and all this over here. If your brain took in everything at equal value, your head would literally explode off your shoulders. Your brain would melt down. And so the reticular activating system protects your brain by filtering information and only letting in stuff that it agrees with. So that's the scientific reason and mandate for why you got to get busy reprogramming that thing. Now we're going to talk about how you use visualization in order to start to reprogram the reticular activating system in your brain so that your brain starts to spot opportunity. Your brain starts to spot evidence that things are working out. Your brain starts to spot coincidences so you can build momentum. And it begins with visualization. So as you take your goals, right? So you've written down all these goals, right? For this year. I want you to go to each one and I want you to do a visualization exercise. And here's how you're going to do it based on science, because there's a particular way you have to do this based on science. Okay? It's a 2-step method. If your goal is to improve your self-worth, I want you to visualize what your life looks like and how you're going to feel about yourself when your self-worth has improved. There's 2 things that you have to do when it comes to visualization. You have to close your eyes. Truly, I know it sounds stupid, but I want you to close your eyes and I want you to, in your mind, have a specific picture of what it looks like in your life when your self-worth has improved. You're going to see yourself speaking up at work. You're going to see yourself talking more about your business. You're going to see yourself leaving bad relationships. You're going to see yourself defining boundaries. You're going to see yourself going to the gym. You're going to see yourself taking care of yourself. And when you start to visualize the image of that, I want you to consciously, this is step 2, consciously think of the positive emotions that you're going to feel. I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel proud. I'm going to stand taller. I'm going to be so grateful that I made this change. Marrying the specific picture. Oh, there I am. There I am. I'm at work and I'm raising my hand. Amazing. I'm sharing my idea. There I am. I'm getting a promotion. There I am asking for a raise. There I am. I've just signed up another customer to my business. There I am. I've gone back to school. I feel so good about myself. When you do that, here's what's actually happening in your brain. This is the science part. You are training your brain to have a totally different filter. You see, your brain, my brain, it doesn't know the difference between something that actually happened to you, like the F you got in your test in 10th grade, and the things you imagine that are happening to you. Let me say that again. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the bad things that actually happened to you, the real memories that you have, and an imagined memory that you're creating. Your brain will experience you visualizing going to the gym, you visualizing how happy you feel when you do, you visualizing asking for that raise and getting it, and how proud you're going to feel. Your brain, when you visualize in the way that I'm teaching you to, it encodes it as a real memory. That's important because when you encode it as a real memory, it changes the filter system, that reticular activating system. Here's what we know based on research. The more you visualize things, number 1, the greater your confidence is going to be, the greater security you're going to have about it. Here's the really cool thing. The more you do this with your goals, you wake up every day and you just visualize for it takes 30 freaking seconds for crying out loud. You visualize having a great day at school. You visualize curing your panic and how proud you're going to be. What studies suggest and have proven is that simply visualizing yourself doing things actually develops the skill and helps you improve the skills just as if you were actually doing it. There's proof based on research that visualization helps you build skills. Finally, the other thing that's really important about this is that the more that you do this, what we know based on research is that the reason why you start to believe what you think is because you are reprogramming your brain. You are changing the network of neurons that act as a filter. The more that you actually believe in yourself and you start thinking and visualizing yourself speaking up, the more confident you're going to become, the more skills that you're building, and you're actually going to do it. And then instead of looking for all the reasons when you're sitting in a meeting to not speak up, you're going to just speak up because you're going to have changed the filter. You're going to look for opportunities. This is how it works. This is why this is so incredibly important. And so day one, I want you to go through all the goals that you set, and I want you every single day throughout the next 30 days, you are going to spend 30 seconds. Your dreams deserve 30 seconds, don't you think? You're going to close your eyes and you're going to visualize what does it look like in your life when you have achieved your monetary goals this year. How does it feel to go to the bank and see that balance? How does it feel to be able to write that check and take your kids to Disney World on money that you made? How does it feel to be able to rent your own place or put down a down payment for the house you've always dreamt of? How does it feel to be able to have saved enough money so you can quit the job that you hate and launch the business because you have achieved your goals? It feels darn good. That's how it feels. And I want you to just savor that, because what you're doing when you visualize is you're reprogramming your reticular activating system, that system of neurons, that network that acts like a filter in your brain, so that it's spotting opportunity, so that it is helping you see evidence that you are confident, that you are capable, that you can do this instead of all the garbage you think right now.